I'm Clarke Speaks, the catastrophic injury lawyer. Welcome to The Verdict.
I'm Carson Grace Toomer, and I'm here with American injury lawyer Clarke Speaks. Okay, Mr. Speaks, so when I'm driving down the road and I look up at a billboard and I see something that says this injury attorney just won, X amount of millions of dollars, what exactly does that entail, and how does that process go about winning that large sum of money?
So you see that a lot, right? You see it on commercials, maybe you hear it on the radio, maybe you see it on a billboard, and you see it on a website. We have it on our website. We have some of our, and that's important information. It is. What that tells you is that the firm who recovered that sum for that client has experience in dealing with big claims where people were very seriously injured. But it really doesn't tell you much more information than that. If a law firm recovers $10 million for someone, maybe they should have recovered $20 million for someone. Maybe they did a great job. You just don't really know just based on that information. But it does tell you that this is a firm that is capable, and in the past at least has done enough to get a large sum of money out of an insurance company. And that is some information. And it's some important information. And then the question is, well, how does that even make sense? Because what I don't want people to think is that if they get into a little fender bender that they're entitled to $1 million, $10 million. They're just not. That's not how it works at all. In order to recover $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20 million, there has to be a really substantial and serious injury that warrants that kind of compensation. In fact, this past week, I was looking at social media, and a friend of mine who runs a firm in Atlanta had commented on this post, right? And the post was something along the lines of personal injury lawyers and that are billboards and marketing campaigns or whatever are negatively impacting the cost of insurance, right? Because they're making people believe that their cases are worth this much when they're really worth this much, And my friend had commented on it and had kind of explained that wasn't really true and why that was and all this. And so I started thinking about it, and I'm like, to some extent, that's like blaming police for crime, right? I mean, it's the police that are trying to be there to help people who have been victims of crime, And so injury lawyers are generally there to help people recover fair and reasonable settlement amounts or verdicts because the insurance companies wouldn't pay them those fair and reasonable amounts without us. And so I think that's an important part to realize. Still, though, if I see this, and if I'm watching TV and I see, somebody got millions of dollars for this or whatever, I think we're all skeptical, right? Like, I mean, have you seen the? You're probably not old enough, but there was a long time ago where there was a case that was famous. It was like this lady had been burned by McDonald's coffee.
Oh, yes.
Did you ever see that?
Yes, I had.
And the idea was it was put all over the media and all over the news as being this ridiculous. This is a perfect example of why our justice system is terrible and it's out of bounds and it's crazy and it's all this, So the media takes this story with the lady who was burned with the McDonald's coffee and they run with it and they make it sound like it's so ridiculous and there's something really wrong with our justice system. And I couldn't help noticing as I saw story after story after story after story about this lady with the McDonald's coffee. All the commercials were Allstate, Geico, Progressive. So when those companies buy that ad space in bulk, they have the capacity to influence the content of what's included in those stories. And so it makes it seem like people like me are taking advantage of these giant insurance companies, which, if you think about it, is ridiculous. In fact, the McDonald's coffee situation itself was a scenario where an older person, like an 80-year-old lady, got coffee at a McDonald's drive-thru, and it wasn't that the coffee was hot, right? Everybody knows coffee's hot. It's that the coffee was too hot for the flimsy cup that they gave her. And then when the cup collapsed in her lap and caused her burns that required surgery, she was should have been entitled to damages. The cost of her medical, because they were careless. They chose to save a few pennies at the expense of their customer, who was permanently injured as a result of this and had to have skin grafts, as I recall. And then the other thing about it is they knew about it. So there's something called punitive damages, right? And punitive damages are very rarely given, awarded to anybody. And when they do, it's sort of a spotlight is shined on it to make it seem like it's ridiculous. But the circumstances that would warrant punitive damages are exceptional, but they're so egregious that if you think about it and if you listen to it and if you really look at the whole case, it makes sense, right? This is a situation where this company knew that their product was not stable enough and was likely to injure people, and they chose to continue to distribute it because it saved them a few dollars, even though it would cost her severe burns, hospitalization, surgery, permanent injury, and a lot of pain and suffering that was completely unnecessary. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us to stay up to date with our weekly episodes. We'll see you next time.